And we're here to talk about sweet words with mom. Now, I've been talking about mom for quite a while. Mom is the magic in ordinary moments that happen to everyone, no matter what we believe. It is the hand of God that is active in our lives and changes our life and weaves our lives with other people in synchronicities and deja vu and serendipity. And they, there was a time in my life when I felt alone and not connected. I knew because of the things that had happened to me that there was a greater plan going on, something that was going on that I wanted a closer connection with that. And so I started taking uh, what I call mom selfies on the phone and the iPad. When I flip open the phone and the iPad and I see a set of numbers or a sequence of numbers in the clock that I'm confronted with, if I see that, I take a screenshot. And it might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 12:34, or it could be 11:11. And it has provided me with a way for spirit, for mom, to have um, um, a real impact ongoing in my life. Even if I am not given a set or a sequence of numbers, I think about getting one, and that presence of the divine in my life has expanded my experience of life in the most delightful way. You see, I've been in training, but my teacher is invisible, mystified, adrift in the white water of time. I didn't recognize the lessons for what they were. And long ago, I broke, battered by the rules and walls that confined me. Awakening, I rose stronger, more flexible, ready and able to listen and learn. And it was through writing stories of my past that my path was defined and my way clearer. I'm going to share some of those stories with you and introduce you further to the one I know as mom. And I'll touch on some of the questions that I'll be going deeper into in the next hour in the Global Fire Ceremony Room. When the time comes, we'll put the link in the chat and we'll all go together. I'd like to start with the Beauty Way prayer. And it was created to end my Qigong practice that is a weaving of the Eastern practice with Western indigenous philosophy. And I say, thank you, Great Mother, for the place and the body. Thank you, Great Father, for the time and the energy. Thank you, Great Spirit, for all it is. For I walk in beauty before me. I walk in beauty behind me. I walk in beauty all around me. I walk in beauty above me. I walk in beauty below me. I walk in beauty in the past. I walk in beauty in the future. I walk in beauty within me. All that is beautiful. And all it is within me. Blessed be. Namaste, Great Mother. Namaste, Great Father. Namaste, all it is. Blessed be. Blessed be, blessed be all my relations. A ho and a hey, we are on our way, going forward in the peace that was promised. I welcome you here to this room and to a time where we share stories, where I'm going to share stories. And I need to acknowledge the chaos and the crises that we are going through. And I look at what is in the world and what has been and sometimes is within me, the chaos, the humans. We humans think we're in control, and that arrogance has led us to now. Acknowledging spirit in the hand of God active in our lives allows us to create a magic canoe in which we can steer our way through the chaos. And in that Beauty Way prayer, I mentioned a promise of peace. And the story of how I received that promise of peace was the story that transformed me from writer to author. And I am deeply grateful for the sacred stories that was brought together by Henry. And the promise of peace was given to me by Gaia. It was two stones that I found synchronistically woven together by inspired words that said, going forward, there shall be peace. Now, I know it can't be just for me because it's not true for me unless it's true for you. So going forward, there shall be peace is, it seems a long way off, but it is through the chaos that the new can rise through. Peace would never have happened in the reality that I lived in when I got that promise. So things had to fall apart. And so we're going through that turmoil now. But those words, that promise, I felt was the answer to the mystery that I was given when I was a teenager in crisis, on my knees in the darkness. Words came out of my mouth without my thinking about them, and I was confused by them. And I've been trying to see how I could make those words true ever since. And the words were, I will speak for you when the time is right. I didn't know who I was speaking to, and I had no idea when the time was right. And there is no time but now, I have learned. And the you that I speak to is the you that has a capital Y. Why? Because it is the greater I that is comprised of all of our I's, all of us are I to ourselves. I am I, and you are you. and you are I to you. Sometimes mom isn't as sweet as we'd like her to be. I was hit by a car leaving a nightclub when I was 21. At the hospital before an x-ray, I was asked if I could be pregnant. Well, it turned out that I was. That trauma, 40 years later, resulted in my son finding me on Facebook. I had not had the honor of raising him. I had given him up for adoption. And in that process of giving him up for adoption, just a second, I'm going to ask, Marco, can you turn off the doorbell, please?
Sure.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Back to my son. And that's kind of story of my life with him. You know, I felt when I was pregnant with him, you know, I had ignored the possibility, and then finally, you know, I was forced to pay attention. You know, if you don't pay attention, mom will get your attention. And so she got my attention, and it was too late to even consider getting an abortion. And so I did everything I could to do the best I could for him. And I took the vitamins, and I bathed him in love in my inside of me. And and when the time came, I gave him up for adoption. And 3 days later, the agency representative came to my hospital room, and she said to me, so what is his name? I have to write it on the papers. And so I said, you know, Michael McArthur. No, it was Christian McArthur. That's Christian. Yeah, give him to Christ, give him to God, you know. She said, I need 3 names. What? Well, nobody had told me this. And in my frustration, anger, I ejected that woman backwards out the door of the hospital room. And when she came back, I had decided on the name Michael. Michael Christian McArthur, MCM. That sounds like a really nice name to go off into life with. The best part that I could give for him was a family that would be able to give him everything that I could not. And so I thought I did the best I could, and 6 weeks later I was working and doing all the things that you're supposed to do, and I went through my life, always secretly hoping that maybe he would be able to contact me. I never changed my name, uh, just hoping. And just before Mother's Day, 40 years later, I get this little message on Messenger, Facebook Messenger. Hi, I think you might be my birth mom. And I said, what makes you think that? And he showed me the birth certificate, and there it was. And there was a name that I didn't recognize. And then I remembered, oh, in this schmozzle of the naming of my son, the clerical um, staff had made an error and called him Eric Michael McArthur. And so I don't know who Eric was, but I didn't have it in me to fight anymore. So he got that name. And and seeing that name on the adoption papers was quite a surprise. But what surprised me even more was the name that his adoptive parents had given him, because it was the name that I would not give him. It was the name of my brother and my grandfather. His name was Ian. Mom, how you walk in my life, how you, and you walk in my son's life, because Eric was the name of a cousin of his in his new adopted family. And he got to grow up feeling like he belonged because of that name. I'm deeply grateful for how Mom has worked in my life and in his, because he has a wonderful family, a big extended family with an older sister who was also adopted. And he grew up on the West Coast, on the Sunshine Coast. Oh my. A place where I would have loved to grown up myself. My mom was born in what was then known as the Queen Charlotte Islands. And my mom and I went on a, a, a road trip to go and visit what's now known as Haida Gwaii. But on the way up, we got to meet my son and his wife on the beach, just as he had always dreamed of. And at that time, we found out that he and his young wife were pregnant. And it was his daughters that we've made back into the fabric of now. And I have 7 generations to think of now because of the misguided things we do in our youth, and honestly, I am deeply grateful for the actions of Mom and the things you tell yourself when you are going through these issues in your life. If you're anything like me, there's a little voice inside of yourself that, you shouldn't have, wouldn't have, and it's just not so. You are what you are, and what's done is done, and you try to make the best of things, and that's what you do. So I met my son on the beach, and my mom and I went further up, and we took the ferry up from the north end of Vancouver Island. And it was a wonderful trip. Uh, the road goes up through the mountains on the island and the beautiful forests, and there's a rest stops all the way along. And we stopped on one rest stop, and while Mom went and used the facility, I got my camera out because there was a raven, and ravens aren't that frequently seen, and especially not so close. And so I took a picture, and he hopped away and just went only so far. And I kind of got out of the car, and maybe I can get closer. And I got another shot, and he hopped away again, and but not so far. And I got a third shot before Mom came out and said, "It's time to go." And so we hopped back in the car and off we went. Up to the north end. We had a hotel there, and we stopped at the hotel, and Mom went for a nap. And I went for a walk. And the receptionist at the desk, she says, watch out for wildlife. And I said, oh, sure. And she says, oh, no, really, there was bears and a wolf, and you got to watch. And I said, okay. So there I go, walking through the berry bushes down to the beach, walking about, 10 or 15 minutes. And I got to the edge of the beach, and there's a slope, almost a cliff, about 6 feet, and I slid down and ended up in amongst the logs and whatnot. And oh well, I have to make note of how to go back up again. That's going to be a climb. And I went and I sat on a log and took my shoes off, put my feet in the sand, and appreciated the sun on my back, and breathed and relaxed. And well, I left my shoes there and I walked down to the water because, that was the whole point of going to the ocean. You got to put your feet in the ocean. So I walked down and I looked at the water, and my feet were in the nice warm sand, and I looked at the cold water and I thought, oh, just a minute. I feel the nice warm sun on my back. And I turned around and opened my arms wide to the sun, and a bear stands up over there. And oh, he wasn't very far away. And the bear and I locked eyes, and we looked at each other, and we breathed, and thought crossed my mind, oh, I can get my camera, I could take a shot. And so I reached for my camera, and when I looked up again with my camera, he dropped to all fours. And so that moment was done, and I fumbled with my camera, and I just managed to start a video. I got about 3 frames, and I could breathe again. And as I breathed and watched, the bear found some berries and found another berry, and walked out of my field of view, picking the next berry around the corner, being nonchalant and whatnot. And oh, that was exciting. And I turned around and made another note of the kids and the dogs off down the other end of the beach, and thought that it was a very good thing that I was where I was, so that they didn't come together, and I was kind of a bridge or a barrier between them. And I turned around and I looked at the water and said, well, it's time. And I put my feet in the water. The Pacific Ocean. And then I walked back up the beach, realizing that, if the bear had realized how tender my feet were, maybe he might have made a different decision, because I would have been easily caught and made a dinner of. But Mom and I have been in this conversation since the lockdown. I have had the honor of staying at my mom's house, sleeping on her sofa bed in her office, in her 2-bedroom apartment that's 4 floors up, right beside the river, the Thompson River in Kamloops, BC. And it's a very close kind of place. She's very autonomous, and she's had her own space for a very long time. And here I'd been house sitting. And so she had had space, and this house sitting was really good. But when the lockdown happened, they closed the border. The owner of the house that I was staying at got bumped back into his house, and I got bumped back into my mom's house. And so I was there for like 9 months, another 9 months, poor mom. Um, but during the afternoons, I would go down and sit on the beach. And I don't know if you remember, but 2020 was, at least where I am in Kamloops, it's it was a really beautiful summer. And all through that summer, I went down to the beach and I would take with me my little pipe, and I would indulge in a little plant medicine and ceremony. The plant medicine uh, allows me to step across the threshold without um, spending a lot of time getting there. And so I would um, spend my time talking to the one um, that I talk to when I'm alone. And this is part of the you, with the capital Y. You is the I of all of us. And so I talk to you as if you are my lover, because I do love you. And I love this world that has been created that allows me to love you. I'm in training, right? And so I had to be brought into the next step of my development. And what I hadn't done to that time was record while I was in ceremony, is what I call it. And so there's this tree, and I call the tree Atlas, because in our conversation, the tree and me, I found out that the name Atlas fit because now the earth is carrying her, instead of her carrying the earth. The uh, the sculpture of Atlas has this very muscular man shouldering the earth, carrying the earth on his shoulder. And here I got to sit under Atlas, where Mother Earth was holding him. And so I finally figured out that Atlas could also be at last. And so this is one of the things that I do, is I play with words, and I play with the things that Mother Earth gives me, situations, and the playfulness that has resulted in the mom selfies that I take, the screenshots that I take, and Atlas, and the recordings that I make. All of this has been a progression and a playfulness that is answered by mom. Mom loves it when we play with her. And so that first time when I was being trained to record was the 4th of April of 2020. And I didn't realize the significance of that until later. What happened was, back in the days when people used to drink beer out of glass bottles and pop out of glass bottles, this Atlas was a comfortable tree to sit under, even then. And people would break bottles. And the sand was littered with shards of glass. And I got into the habit of picking up shards of glass, and there wasn't anywhere to put them. So I put them in the roots of Atlas, not realizing that the floods would come and move them all away, and then they'd be all over the place again. It doesn't matter. This is what I did. So I put all of these pieces of glass and detritus underneath Atlas, and so this one day it was time to go, and you know, okay, this is the last piece of glass, and I on the way home there was another one. Okay, fine, I'll take that one back, and and I and then I found another penny, and it was like, oh, and that goes with the other penny, and here's a piece of glass. Okay, I'll put that back, and I have to go. And so I walk away again. And as I'm walking away, I'm thinking, you know, I've got 2 pennies. The only thing that could be better than that would be to have 3. And just as I finished thinking that, I looked down and there was a toonie. And I laughed. A toonie is a Canadian coin that seems to have a penny on the inside, but it's as big as a silver dollar, and it is worth $2. And so I laughed and I went back to the tree and I said, you know, I feel like I've been paid to tell the story. And so I leaned against the tree and made my first recording. And when I looked at it later, I realized that the $2.02 were the fourth 4 on that day. And that was Mom. And it was just so delightful that I could have this wonderful experience. And so the rest of that summer and since, I have been going into ceremony and speaking sweet words with Mom. It's now a part of my website, which is SonLight Sparkling on the Waters .weebly.com. And there's another story, you know, why did I call it SonLight Sparkling on the Waters? Well, it's behind me as well. It is the name that I was given by Mom. And it's one of the recordings that I've made in the discovery of my path on this earth plane and what I'm doing. And it's been a remarkable journey, this path of mine. I'm just so deeply grateful for Mom for walking with me and being so present in my life. And I'm so grateful to be able to tell my stories. Um, you know, telling my stories has become, you know, part of my path. It's my reason for being. It's fun to talk about the magic, because it's the beautiful alternative to what's going on out there. You know, we have to decide where we put our energy, because energy goes where your attention goes. And if you're constantly thinking about the crises and the problems, then you're not putting the energy where it needs to be in your life and in your community. I hope that my stories help to give you the impetus to start looking at the magic that's happened in your life, because your path is defined by the things that Mom has given you in your life. The amazing things that happen that you could never have planned. They are there as signposts to help you along your way to see yourself clear to the purpose and the path that you have been designed for. Telling stories is my path. And helping, enlightening our way to have a following and a presence in the lives of my followers. And it's fun being me. I hope it's fun being you, and that you find the fun, and that Mom treats you much better than finding a car coming out of the darkness with a surprise. Thank you so much for listening. I want to invite you to be a part of the conversation. I see that we have a couple of people here with me. Hey, Kyler, it's nice to see you. How are you?
Hi, Shannon. Can you hear me?
I can, just about.
I'm well, thank you. It's good to see you. It's been an interesting journey since we last chatted. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll bet you have.
Oh, I'm just down the road from you basically now.
Are you? Kamloops?
Yeah,
Good for you.
my friends, Shabana, she's a singer, songwriter. Let me see. Shabana.
Hi. Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for being a friend of my friend.
Yeah, she- on Magic of Ordinary Moments. I mean, this is kind of extraordinary, but I'd like to share a dream that I had that came true.
Really?
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Since we last chatted. It's funny that you say who, because it was about an owl. May 11th, I had a dream where maybe I shared this one with you in the past back in the summer. But I had a dream of where I was with a group of about 8 different people, and I was leading them, but I was behind them, making sure that they were all sticking together. I was on a rural property, felt like in the farmland. I knew I was close to a city, but outside it. And I was guiding them, keeping everybody cohesive. And I look up, and there's this white owl looking down at me, making eye contact with me, with 8 other owls of different feathers all behind it, paying attention. They're all looking around like they're on guard. And then the owl, we were like blocked by a fence, like we can't go any further. And this white owl takes off, but the whole time it's paying attention, doesn't break eye contact with me the whole time. And in the passage of time, it seemed like quite a bit of time had gone by. And then it came back, and it still was making a third eye contact with me. Like I could feel its presence, and it came back, it landed. All the other owls kind of came together. Me and the people I was with moved on. Like the barrier was broken through. Well, since the last time we chatted, a lot of craziness happened. And I ended up moving to a farm out a couple hours from where I was. And I'm out walking around this 5-acre property, this beautiful farmland one day. And I've got my staff, and I'm walking around, and there's this old like bass drum from like a drum set. It's in this old rickety old barn, this old barn. And I hit it a couple of times just for fun. Realized it doesn't sound quite right. So I look on the other side, it's all busted on the one side, on the kick side. I was like, oh, whatever. So I smashed it a couple of times for fun. And I hear right over my head. There's this beautiful white owl that flies right over my head. out of its roost. I scared the crap out of it. Didn't know it was there. And I followed it. It flew up into the mountain, and all the eagles and hawks and magpies were just screaming because they were terrified because this white owl was flying around in the middle of the day. And I prayed for it to come back. Like, please come home. This is your home. I didn't mean to scare you. And I prayed for it. A couple of days later, I go back into the barn, and there it is, sitting in its roost, looking straight at me, almost identical to the dream. I got a video of them there, I'll post it or something. I got pictures and video of this beautiful white owl. I thought it was a barn owl. And then a young indigenous friend of mine, Tom Sky, gets a hold of me one day when he saw it. And he's like, that's a great horn owl.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like the white creatures have been very prevalent in my life these last 6 months. White buffalo, white owl, and white moose.
White goose?
Moose.
Moose.
Yeah, like albino moose.
Really?
White animals have been very present lately, but specifically the white owl. The owls have been very present, and then when it comes to like, hey, you're on the right path, kind of thing. And now I'm not at that place. She saved my ass from that place. The dream showed me that I was going to be moving on from the house.
Well, I'm glad Mom is playing with you too.
Really is.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name already.
Savannah. It means belonging to the United.
Really? Well, I look forward to meeting you. Here we are in Kamloops, small town. Oh, I look forward to it. We'll set that up. We'll set that up. I look forward to it. I want to just mention Marco, because Marco has been my prince for such a long time. Honestly, when you come into Kamloops, it is, I want to put the banners out and let the pennants fly, and the next time you come, maybe we'll be able to set up something with Kyler, and you got to write that down for me.
Where are you?
I'm in Michigan,
Oh, okay.
but I've spent about 3 months in British Columbia this year.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is share with you my website, because making these recordings are they're no good if they just sit in my phone, right? So I'm going to share my screen. This is my website. Mom and Dad named me Shannon Kathleen McArthur. Mom renamed me SonLight Sparkling on the Waters. My life is a story of magic unfolding. So is yours. And then there's some stuff, lots of stuff. And there's more about me, and there's the promise of peace. And then my work, and Sweet Words with Mom, and a synchronized worldwide water ceremony, and divinations.
When you say mom, are you referring to Mother Gaia or your mom?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, darling.
Oh, when you mentioned mom on your website, are you regarding Mother Gaia or your mom?
Well, mom is, where do I have mom written? I can tell you, that's probably the easiest. We can go to Sweet Words with Mom here. No, I guess we can't. Let's try that again. Apparently that one doesn't work the way I wanted it to. Mom is the magic in ordinary moments that happen to everyone. You is the composite being that holds us all. Inside time. Who is I? You are I, the one we are.
Because we reflect each other. It's because I could resonate with this. It's like we could reflect each other in a way. We see each other in us and people we meet. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Mom is all of us plus. Mom includes Mother Earth and us. And well, the question is, how big is Mom? You know, what is the one we are? And this is the question that I have been engaged with since perhaps all my life, who knows?
What if mom is infinite? If we're trying to measure how big it is,
What if?
what if I'm just guessing? Maybe
I love that question. What if Mom is infinite? Well, they say that God is infinite. What is God? Well, God is Mom, because that's the same thing. We're talking about the same thing. It's just another name for the same thing that we're talking about. And yes, the answer is yes. I am so glad that it came from you. It didn't have to come from me. Thank you so much for saying that. And as we go into our next conversation, that is going to become the question that I'm bringing into that environment. Uh, they are having a talking circle over there right now. And so this was scheduled every day. And I didn't want to have a disjointed presentation. I wanted to talk about Mom. And then I wanted to talk about the rest of what I talk about, because, you know, life is so much bigger than just talking to Mom. Um, or even the mystery of what Mom is. And so I wanted to have this time to get deeply into the purpose and the reason for all of it before I go there and bring you with us, and where we can talk about the bigger picture. I had a conversation in April or May, I can't remember when it was, in which we talked about hashtag the one we are. And I had a panel discussion. It was 2.5 hours long, and I had indigenous wisdom keepers and social media people, and I had a Gaia mystic, and I had somebody who was focused on crop circles. I mean, it was a wonderful conversation. And we didn't have a resolution for the answer to what is the one we are. But we talked a lot about different things and different facets of it, prophecies and philosophies. And and I believe that this is more of that same conversation. This is a continuation of the exploration of what is Mom. And honestly, I think that Mom is alive. And one of the criteria of being alive is reproduction. I think Mom is pregnant. I think we are that child. I think we are the child that was prophesied. I love the way you nod your head. Yes, yes, yes. I'm excited by it too. What I want to do is help the rest of the world relax into playing with mom, allowing her to lead us into the plan that she has for us. We have been so wrapped up in our own plans and trying to control things, and I don't know how she does it, but that's not my purpose. I think it may be our purpose, but none of us gets to do that alone. And we're all in this together. And this is actually the fun part. Once we awaken to the reason that we are here together, we can relax into the having fun and playing with mom. You know, I have a lot of different ways of looking at mom and me and we and I and you and all of this. And I have come to believe that we could see ourselves as the green man. The green man is from Celtic history. He was the keeper of the forests and the caretaker of the forests, and the health of the forest was in his hands. And if we start looking at ourselves as the one we are, as being the green man here to adore her, we will restore her.
With my whole life, taking care of the forest, grew up in the forest.
I'm so lucky. I grew up in the city. Always wanted to be in the city. Luckily, I'm in Thailand for 6 years. We really have very good. Really got it.
I look forward to being in person with you so that I can hear your words better, because I feel you've got jewels coming out of your mouth, girl. And I want to prepare us. It's 5 minutes before we go into the other room. I want to say thank you so, so much for being here and being a part of this. I've got a lot more stories, and I am very aware that I can't stuff them all into an hour. My website has a lot of the stories there. I've got other stories in other places, and yeah, it's been fun telling stories, writing stories, and if we share our stories together, we will see how they weave together, because we are being woven together. We just have to find our way. It's like putting another piece of glass underneath Atlas the tree, you know, and allowing ourselves to be paid to do the right thing, the next right thing, and it will appear.
It's so crucial that we all, as a humanity and existence, collaborate, because we are supposed to expand our consciousness to enhance our existence. What do you think?
You need to be louder or clearer. Sorry, your microphone. We're gonna blame it on tech.
I need to fix my computer. I need
Your
to get,
voice is it catches your voice.
Oh, I have to use my diaphragm, maybe?
Yeah, maybe that'll work.
Okay. What I was saying, oh, let me see. It's so important for us to collaborate in this existence to expand our consciousness, because that's how we enhance our existence. in this reality, if that makes sense.
We need to collaborate
That's-
and build things in our community, places in our communities. And I'm going to be going into that into the, Marco, do you have a link for the Global Fire Ceremony Room? I thought I had it, but so I'm hoping that you'll put it into the chat for us. And then we'll just click that and go over there. And I will be talking about OhGs, which is the plan, the Our Heart Gardens plan for the transformation of human society that I was given. And, you know, being given the promise of peace was amazing and wonderful. But I had to work on the plan, and it needs more planning, and that's, you need a community in order to make those things happen. What, Kyler?
You're here to help.
Yeah.
Hey, excellent.
The
So
link is in the chat.
excellent. And it is 1:58. So what I'd like to do for the next just couple of minutes is just breathe, because it's been fun. Oh, Marco, you're doing something that I've seen people do that I don't understand. I want you to help me. I see people doing this all the time.
Th-
What is this?
This is, as I understand it, it's honoring and recognition of each other in spirit. And, you know, when we hear another talk, and this is how we honor and bring that in. We are honoring those that are speaking.
I believe it's an indigenous.
Yes.
It is. And it is indigenous people that I often see doing it. And it to me, it seems like when you talk to God, you talk to God with your hands open. And so this, it just,
I feel always when I do this, I'm bringing your energy to my field.
okay, I can go with that. That works for me.
Inviting it in.
Okay,
You're
okay,
accepting.
okay. Thank you. What a gift.
Before we go, this is the white owl. Hard to see.
Wow. I see it now. Look at
I
the
have a whole video
eye.
of it, a minute of video of it.
Wow.
It was just staring straight at me when I walked into that barn the second time. It was like, I see you. And to me, that was God sees me. And,
Wow. Thank you so much, Kyler. I'm so glad that you both came. You made it special. Thank you so much. The link to oneworld.earth is in the chat. So I will see you on the flip side.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Marco.